You have
That's
tasted success. I have not. I have tasted
I mean,
failure. Hello, 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 and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller, and joining me today, as always, Justin McGovern. What's up, dude?
hey, well, this time, we've almost finished the entire season. We're in that weird part where we're like, it's basically the off season. It is the off season for most everybody. And, we're two people here that generally try to take a neutral stance on things, but we are sports fans too. And we have been through the ringer when it comes to sports heartbreaks. Both Matt and I have been through that even in the past week. But before we dive into that, we'll also talk about where Saquon Barkley ranks among top free agent signings. Where does Josh Allen rank among Buffalo Bills? And towards the end of the episode, we'll be closing this thing out by talking about some cool college football scheduling updates, talking about also our random topic of the week. We run some spinning wheels and see, we just talk about whatever the wheel gives us. Last week, we talked about the weirdest opponent win-loss record that UConn football had and found that, it was kind of funny that they were 9-20 all time against Holy Cross. So this week, who knows what we're going to get? All sorts of fun stuff on the list. Yeah, Matt, how about you tell the people who we are?
We are Updog Sports Talk, and we are a show that started because we got tired of the mainstream media's how do I put this? BS. Always talking about LeBron or the Cowboys or the Yankees or whatever. We decided that we wanted to represent the little guy also and kind of give a more well-rounded topic. And kind of focus on give representation to the little guy. So that's why we started this, and we will continue to do so, and we will not be sellouts. I started the video last week, but it apparently had no sound, so I am gonna have to figure that out. So I skipped the video this week. So very quick intro, and we are off and up and running. So Justin,
All right.
let's get started with Saquon Barkley. And to preface all of this, when was this put out? NFL.com put out a article showing the top 20 free agent signings in NFL history. The season's not over, so we can't accurately place Saquon yet. So we got to see how they turn out. But nope, not that.
Don't do that.
Uh,
I don't even know what that was going to be, but I think it's been entertaining to see Saquon play this year with a real team. I think he's been absolutely miserable with the Giants because all along he's had absolutely horrible offensive line blocking. Never really has gotten to play with a real quarterback. It's been a long road for him with the Giants. And thanks to the Giants' incapability, they did not re-sign him this year. And sorry, I hesitated there because I kept wanting to say resign for some reason, but they couldn't get him, they didn't sign him again and let him go to a division rival. And now we're at the point where he has allowed the division rival to go to the Super Bowl. That is just a nightmare.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying that this may be the greatest signing ever, but we got to see really how this turns out. So We're gonna go through this a little bit. At number 20, we have Jerry Rice in 2001 to the Raiders. Simeon Rice in 2001 to the Buccaneers. Bryce Pop,
Rice back to back.
95 to the Bills. Michael Turner, 08 to the Falcons. Ed McCaffrey, 95 to the Broncos. James Ferrier, 2002 to the Steelers. Keenan McCardell, 95 to the Jaguars. Priest Holmes, 2001 to the Chiefs. Mike Vrabel, 2001 to the Patriots. Kevin Malway, 98 to the Jets. Rod Woodson, 98 to the Ravens. Shannon Sharp, 2000 to the Ravens. Rich Gannon, 99 to the Raiders. Curtis Martin, 98 to the Jets. Charles Woodson, 06 to the Packers. Kurt Warner, 05 to the Cardinals. Deion Sanders, 94 to the Niners, 95 to the Cowboys. Peyton Manning, 2012 to the Broncos. Drew Brees, 2006 to the Saints. And Reggie White, 93 to the Packers. I gotta say, a lot of that happened in our lifetime. And 2001 was an extremely loaded free agent class.
Yeah, seriously.
And 98 for that matter. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, I gotta put him top 5 signing.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's no way the Eagles would have gotten to this point if they had just, their usual, before this, they kind of just kept running through like, mediocre groups of running backs, just running backs that were decent. They could get the job done behind the offensive line they had. But I mean, this gave them a true top threat. And at times this year, the Eagles passing game hasn't clicked, and it has not mattered because Saquon is there to pick up the slack.
Yeah. And got a note, Drew Brees in 2006, he actually signed with the Dolphins, failed a physical, and then got signed by the Saints. And Nick Saban was the coach of that Dolphins team. And
There's a very real scenario that college football is a sport that looks entirely different if Drew Brees has not failed that physical.
Oh yeah, 100%. And Nick Saban, I saw a video the other day where he was talking about he knew Dr. Andrews who did the surgery, and Dr. Andrews was like, yeah, he'll be fine, don't worry about it. But because he failed the physical, the owners wouldn't let him sign him. So then he was like, okay, well, let's trade our second round pick for Dante Culpepper. And it's just funny that like we chose this topic, but I 100% had no idea that I was going to be talking about any of that today. But Saquon Barkley to the Eagles, if they win, got to put him somewhere like maybe behind Peyton Manning, maybe behind Deion Sanders.
Yeah,
like
I would agree.
5th all time signings.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted for a moment. As always, I have sports on my TV during the show. Samford and Furman are playing, and Samford got the ball here at the end, and they had a shot to like tie it, and then the ball slipped through the guy's hands. Like they literally got a guy behind the defense. He was ready to get a layup to tie it, and then it slipped out of his hands. Dang. I was watching all that happen while you were talking.
Thanks for listening. But yeah, I mean, this season by Saquon, 2,000 yards. You couldn't have asked for more for a free agent signing.
He's close to 3,000 yards total. And by the way, also, I have to think.
Yeah, that's including playoffs.
I also have to thank him for helping me win my fantasy football league this year.
I actually like when he went to the Eagles, it just felt like a good fit, not only because they needed him, but also he went to school at Penn State. A lot of Penn State fans are also Eagles fans, so it kind of just seemed like a good fit.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of the best signings out there. I mean, for sure, the best signing this offseason.
Probably the best signing in the last like 10 years.
Yeah. Because yeah, you went over that list. Like there was no one recently. Like free
I don't know
agency.
when there wasn't a date on the list, so I don't
Yeah,
I can't accurately say that, and
but I
I
mean,
can't recall.
even just going off memory, I cannot think of a truly impactful free agent signing like this anytime recently. Like, I mean, really, the
Tom
only
Brady, maybe.
impactful one, that is true. That was a good one. I mean, the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, so you got to put that one up there. So maybe this list isn't super recent, but I mean, other than like running backs, which obviously Saquon's running back too, but like like Derrick Henry was a good signing for the Ravens, but like outside of those, I can't
It's
really
no
think of
Curtis Martin, 98.
that. I'd say it compares. I'd say it compares.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd put them next to each other. Neither of them won a championship. So I guess with that being said, we can move on to a topic to kind of ice your bruising. Uh, Josh Allen, take the refs out of the equation. We're not really going to talk about the refs or the Chiefs. Josh Allen himself played a pretty good game in the AFC Championship game. There's one play where they did a corner blitz, and I think the linebacker came too, and both of them came free. Josh Allen had to back up. He was like 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage and just hucked it up with his arm off balance. Got it 25 yards down the field and hit his tight end Kincaid right in the hands. It was a
Yeah.
little off to prevent Kincaid from really reacting right, but like definitely a catchable ball. But
This
you
was the
can't
last
blame
play
him.
of the game, pretty much.
Yeah, basically the last Bills play of the game.
Yeah.
And had he caught that, we may be having a different conversation here. But that brings up, where would you rank Josh Allen in Bills history? I got it pulled up here, and they have Bruce Smith as number one. I don't think that's really gonna be disputed by anybody. This is from 2023. So Jim Kelly at 2, OJ Simpson at 3, Thurman Thomas at 4, Joe Dalem. I said it correctly, or like off
Oh
air.
no.
Dalemure.
you
I
even
can
you
butcher
even
that.
tried to rehearse his name. Went off so smoothly
I
before the show.
know. Andre Reed at 6 and Billy Shaw at 7, and then this has Josh Allen at 8. I think I think it's time to start having the conversation of putting Josh Allen at 2 in
Yeah.
franchise history.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Jim Kelly was a gunslinger in his own right and a Bills legend. Obviously got them to the Super Bowl. But
4 times
I think one of
in
the
a row.
biggest differences between what Josh and Jim Kelly has more of the accomplishments, but I mean, you just look at what Josh has done, his stats, and I mean, he has been about as good as humanly possible in the playoffs. In terms of playoff football, like it is tight, it is tougher. The defense is zoned in. And I mean, Josh's stats are near perfect. The reason why, the big difference between both of their eras is, Jim Kelly had a defense to back him up. There's Bruce Smith over there terrorizing quarterbacks. Josh just had none of that in the playoffs. The Bills, which we'll kind of get to this in the airing our grievances section. So, but the Bills defense has not helped Josh Allen at all.
Well, also the AFC was kind of thin back then in the early 90s. Like
Yeah.
you look around, like the Bengals were starting to crumble and turn into the bottomless pit of mediocrity, and we'll get to that later. Um, and like the Steelers really weren't the Steelers. The Patriots weren't the Patriots yet. You literally look at like maybe Dan Marino, and I say Dan Marino because he was basically the Dolphins.
Yep.
Maybe he was competition to Jim Kelly, but there really wasn't a whole lot of other teams out there that were like super competitive. It back then the NFC had all the powerhouses.
Yeah. As we would find out in the Super Bowl each time. But now, like, this day and age, we're looking at a situation where the top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL all reside in the AFC.
Yeah.
And obviously, the best one that is not letting anyone else get Super Bowl appearances is there as well. There wasn't this dominant era of, Mahomes and Andy Reid back then.
No. That didn't really come into play. I mean, you had Montana and Walsh. But like you didn't really have repeated coaches and quarterback pairings like this. Like John
Right. Like,
Harbaugh and
I mean,
Lamar Jackson. John Harbaugh's been there for almost 15 years now. Have you realized that?
since what, 2008?
2011 or was it 2008?
2008, yeah.
Okay, so longer than 15 years. I think the shortest tenured duo is Zach Taylor with the Bengals. I think he's the shortest tenured coach out of the top quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And like Allen not only has to compete with Mahomes, but he has to compete with Burrow, who past couple of years hasn't made it, but then you'll have Lamar Jackson too, who is consistently winning MVPs and may win another one here soon. But back in Jim Kelly's era, the MVP seemed to really go mainly to running backs.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, I mean, some of those like Dallas Cowboy teams, you wish that the MVP could go to the offensive line because
Yeah.
I mean, they probably had the best offense at one point. They probably had the best offensive line in NFL history.
Yeah. It's probably
But
changed since then. I think there may have been. I think we were talking about this a couple years ago. I can't remember who had the better offensive line, but yeah, that offensive line was stacked. What, 5 Hall of Famers? All 5 are Hall of Famers?
yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, Emmitt Smith had all sorts of room to run. Troy Aikman had all day to throw. I mean, they had an incredible operation back then.
Yeah, game's changed a lot since then, but
yeah, it has. They've not been back to the NFC Championship since.
Yeah, and they could have been back if it wasn't for a Dak Prescott scramble and slide to have the time run out for the 49ers to go.
Wasn't that a first round game though? I thought that was a first round game.
I thought that was divisional.
No, because like they had all their constant failures against the It was
divisional because they got the bye that year.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you're right. They got the bye that year. That's what it was. Because I just remember the Bills. That was yet another Bills playoff failure that we'll get to later. And then the only thing that cheered me up was how funny the Cowboys ending was.
Why later? Let's just get to it now.
Yeah, might as well.
We've already ranked Josh Allen. We agreed that he was second. So let's air out these grievances, Justin. Since we're on the Bills, go ahead.
Yeah. So just it feels like they can never have any sort of nice things at all. This is the best the Bills have been in such a long time. And it's just so after spending years upon years with the biggest dynasty in their division, just tormenting them every single year while I was growing up. Then immediately after that happens, right when the Bills finally become good, another dynasty emerges and denies them any hopes of ever making a Super Bowl. It's just year after year of watching the defense fail in the playoffs and a refusal to change it. And yeah, it's just like the Chiefs are so good at this point that I do despise them, but it's out of respect one. But at the same time, they just keep beating the Bills so much that I hate it. It is just heartbreak after heartbreak every single year. And I spent the whole year really not paying attention because I was like, it's going to end the same way. And then it ended the exact same way.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate. I'm a Bengals fan. So when I was born, the Bengals, the good teams of the 80s had already crumbled into the very mediocre uh, Bengals teams of the 90s. And by the time I was able to really know what's going on, like know that it's called football and that it's on TV, the Bengals were getting the number one overall pick for a running back that tore his ACL in his first preseason game. They drafted a few years later a number one overall again for an Oregon quarterback who ended up not doing very well, not through any fault of his own, really. It was mainly because they couldn't have any semblance of an offensive line. Then they hire a Steelers defensive coordinator to completely try to ruin the Bengals franchise even more. So there's little to no competition for the Steelers. Then he goes back to the Steelers and wins 2 Super Bowls. And then finally, number one overall pick again, Carson Palmer gets to the playoffs, faces the Steelers. Great way to break at that point it had been like 15, 16 years since they had like won a playoff game.
Yeah.
And then the first offensive play of the game, Carson Palmer tears his ACL. And that team probably could have won a Super Bowl. And then he just wasn't the same. We fast forward, we got Andy Dalton and Aired Green. Andy Dalton was limited, so he wasn't going to take us anywhere. Marvin Lewis couldn't get a postseason win to save his life. Then we finally get a postseason win in 2021 and make it to the Super
You're
Bowl.
not going to mention the 2016 game when
I didn't really
they
want to
stole defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah. Justin came over to my apartment. I lived down the street from the stadium at that time. And the Steelers came to town in a playoff game. The Bengals were winning late in the game. Bum Jeremy Hill fumbled near the end of the game to give the ball back to the Steelers. And the Steelers threw a ball down the field. It was incomplete. And then it was called like you think of the Chiefs getting flags. These are the flags that I've witnessed the Steelers get for years against the Bengals. And so they got 15 yards. Then Joey Porter, the coach for the Steelers, is in the Bengals huddle shoving players. And then the Bengals get another unnecessary roughness to put them in field goal range to have was that still Boswell? He's been around for a little bit, right?
Yeah, probably Boswell. He's been around forever.
I
literally can't think of a time. Like, I know at one point, I can't remember what year it was at this point, but like, I know before him, it was Bowling Green legend Sean Sweezum that was their kicker. And then I'm pretty sure they went straight from him to Boswell.
Yeah, so Boswell hit the game winner and killed the Bengals' chances of moving on to the next round.
Somewhere in there, Vontaze Burfict ended Antonio Brown as we know him.
Was that game?
Yeah.
I thought that was regular season.
No, I actually I'm pretty sure like you missed where that flag happened in there. Because like I'm pretty sure it was like the pass interference. Then immediately the next play was when Vontaze Burfict ended Antonio Brown. And then when they're discussing that was when Joey Porter went to the Bengals huddle. So there was like 2 personal fouls and then
yeah. So they literally moved down the field like with throwing like doing one play.
Yeah.
And it
was almost all on Bengals penalties.
Yeah. And then I did get to see the Bengals break the curse and get that playoff win. I was in the end zone when stay in the stands, obviously, but that end zone was right in front of me when Pratt picked it off. So that was pretty cool. I did get to witness that. But I have witnessed outside of that 0 success from the Bengals in my lifetime. And Then the
Well,
Reds.
no. Let's back up here because this 2021 run did not end after that. You got to see them win again, and then be the only team that is beating the Chiefs in the AFC Championship,
I guess I got
other
that.
than Tom Brady and the Patriots.
But the Reds have made the playoffs. What I text you 3 times, 4 times since 5 times since I was born. They have one series win in there, and they were up 2-0, and then lost 3 straight games at home for the Giants to advance. And the Giants ended up winning the World Series, but that's neither here nor there. So the Reds have had no success. And then Notre Dame.
Keep in mind, I'm with you on the Reds thing. I'm literally, because the Reds are not interested in ever trying. I am disinterested in baseball because of the Reds. Thank you, Reds.
Then moving on to Notre Dame, they had no success when I was young because Charlie Weiss got there in the early 2000s. They were okay in the late 90s, but Charlie Weiss got there, ruined the whole thing, and then they get Brian Kelly. That kind of hurt because this was not planned. And Brian Kelly took him to the championship, only to get absolutely annihilated by a super great Alabama team that was probably unfair to
I mean,
team.
let's put it this way: Brian Kelly is Brian Kelly. He went to LSU and still has not changed.
Yeah. And then Marcus Freeman lost to Ohio State 2 weeks ago, so that hurts. And FC Cincinnati had a chance to win the MLS, and they all got the flu in the final game to lose it. Just every team I root for just ends up sucking. And I'm sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of it, Justin.
I know. I'm in the same boat. I am in the exact same boat. I mean, even the only team that I root for that, oh yeah, by the way, we're Bowling Green alums. You know, they had a chance to win the division and fell short. You know, Bowling Green basketball hasn't made the NCAA tournament since 1960s. And then even the only one that is successful right now, which was Ohio State, they had to lose to their rival 4 times to get there.
Shut up. You've watched your team win 2 national championships. You have tasted success. I have not. I have tasted.
I mean, oh my gosh, that's a deep cut from Step Brothers. Well done. I did not know we'd be getting a Step Brothers reference in tonight. Well done.
I said success, and then I was like, what's the opposite of success? Because I can't stop to think about this right now. And failure. And the first thing that popped in my head was that. So I had to run with it. But my point is, my teams always suck. And it's starting to be infuriating. And if you have a team that is not Ohio State or Kansas City, and you are looking for, and your team has moderate success, and you're looking for someone to root for your team, I am now accepting applications because this is getting ridiculous. Just want one of my teams to win. Even my NASCAR driver ended up dying on the track. Like,
oh man, yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are ruining the NFL for all of us.
Yeah. And like I get everyone's like, oh, it's rigged. Like it does seem like that sometimes. This past one, I've talked to a lot of people about that catch, not a catch thing. And I know it's not the general public's popular opinion, but it seems to be a popular opinion among the people that I've talked to is it was fair to rule it a catch because you could tell that it was caught but you couldn't tell who had possession. So, like, I understand to hit the ground, but it wasn't wiggling. They didn't need the ground to secure it. It was secured, but just both guys had their hand on it. The first down, that 100% relied on where the ball was spotted. And I think there was like a millimeter of error.
Here's where I have the problem with that, because for one, if that is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs that need that first round down, I think they would have given it to him. I do think they would have. I absolutely 100% believe that they would. But at the same time, it's also like, what are we doing? I think at this point, this is where we need to learn. The Josh Allen loss to the Chiefs in the playoffs a few years ago got us to change the overtime rules, which probably should have been changed way before that. Now, maybe this one will get us to change how we mark our spots on the field, because why are we relying on these two guys? Neither one of them, who, by the way, have any sort of clue where this thing ended up. They had no idea where this ended up. They were straight up guessing on the field. None of them had a good view.
I do think the one that called where the spot had the best view, but by the time the forward progress was stopped, there was two bodies right in front of him, so he couldn't see. So, I do think that if it was called a first down, there wasn't going to be any review that was going to call that to be not a first down. I think it depended on the spot of the ball and the call on the field originally.
But of course, this was the Buffalo Bills, so it was ruled short. And that is where sports grievances coming in again. But I mean, again, we know we have a chip in the ball. They've already confirmed this, but they use it for all these silly analytic things that people have already started not to care about. Why are we not using it to figure out where did this thing end up? Because, we had a situation where neither ref really had a clear view of it. The one that actually had the better view initially called it the first down, and the one that had the worst view overrules him.
Other way around, dude. It was the other way around.
No. I've heard
I'm telling you. Dude, I watched the video 6 times, right before we got on, before I talked to you. It was the one that came in and called it a first down had Josh Allen's back. The one that ran in and spotted the ball had Josh Allen and could actually see the ball for a second before Chris Jones got.
Oh, he had Chris Jones in his way. He could not see that thing.
Yeah, but he was. My point is Josh Allen was facing this way towards where the camera was, and you can specifically see that line judge had a view until, like I said before, the progress was stopped. And by the time the progress was stopped, there was 2 guys in his way. So at that point, neither ref had a good view. That's why the one guy called it not a first down, because he could see the ball, whereas the one on the other side couldn't see the ball at all and was just guessing at that point. But to your point, yes, we do need to use that chip for good instead of evil. And
or it's just nonsense, pretty much.
But there's a big difference between this Patriots or this Chiefs dynasty and the Patriots dynasty. The Patriots dynasty blew teams out. So yes, there was a couple calls like this, but it really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things because they were up by 20 points. Whereas the Chiefs, it seems like every single playoff game is down to a play within the last 2 minutes that everyone's like, what was that?
I think, sometimes there might be some legitimacy to it, but I think where the frustration comes in is just the fact that, it feels like if they need a call, they're going to get a call. If there's a question of the spot, if the Chiefs have the ball, they're going to call it a first down. If the other team has the ball, they're not going to call it a first down. If, there's someone tugs a jersey, if the Chiefs are on offense and, their receiver's jersey is tugged, they're probably going to call holding or pass interference. If it's the other team, they probably won't call it. It's just that sort of, those little small nuances within the game, I think people are starting to notice and point out. Now, maybe we shouldn't hyper focus on officiating because, these are people that are not paid enough to care. But it does at the same time feel like, can we ever think back to a time in a critical game, where the Chiefs truly needed a call? Did they not get it?
So the two main calls from this past game in the AFC Championship game seemed to me like the catch and the first down, not a first down, not a catch, however you want to say it. Those seemed more subjective than years past. You can make a case for each of those, not being completely unbiased, taking the refs' frustration out of it. You can make a case for those being legitimate. Joseph Osai pushed Patrick Mahomes out of bounds while he was in bounds and got flagged for that. That is not subjective. That's just completely wrong. There were many calls like that over the past 5 years against the Bills, against the Bengals, against the Ravens, against whoever else you want to point out that were just obviously the wrong call. And that's why everybody has these frustrations. That's why everyone fixates on these close calls, because nobody has any trust in the refs except for Chiefs fans, who, by the way, there's a tuberculosis outbreak in Kansas City. So if you see a Kansas City fan coughing, I would stay away.
And I mean, that's not to discredit what they're doing. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff they're doing. I mean, Spags on the defensive side is really the key to the genius of this whole thing, because he's really, I mean, he has the most aggressive defense in the NFL. As a Bills fan whose defense just sits back and lets opponents do whatever they want in hopes that they make a mistake, I absolutely envy what they have.
Well, how many rings does he have now?
Look like that. I mean, they're up to 4.
Spags? No, Spags.
Oh, yeah, he has 4.
Do you think that like taking the Chiefs and all the refs and all that out of it for a second, do you think that there needs to be a coordinator award? And if so, would you name it after Spags when he hangs up the whistle?
Yeah, I would say so. The guy is going to go in the Hall of Fame for mostly what he did as a coordinator. That's going to be the crazy thing. Like, he is just, I mean, unbelievable. He schemes stuff up. At this point, obviously we made fun of the Ravens for over a year for giving up on the run against the Chiefs. And then, look and see like the Bills, except for like inside the third quarter, did almost the exact same thing. Like at that point, when you start to see more and more teams give up on the run against them, even though when they actually do run it, it works. There's very clearly some sort of look he is giving pre-snap that is causing these teams not to run. And even though they're actually post-snap going to give up more on the run, they're giving a pre-snap look that's saying, don't run on us. But then post-snap, they're like, just kidding, you can run on us.
I think some of it boils down to Chris Jones too.
Yeah, I agree.
He's an animal. But
yeah, which, by the way, New Orleans Saints, you have not hired a coach. Please just do us all a favor and throw the bag at Spags. Quit it with the Kellen Moore stuff. I love Kellen Moore as a person and everything. He probably will be a good coach. Just do a favor to the rest of the NFL and hire Spags away from them.
Watch him say no.
He probably would, actually. That's the worst part. He actually probably would. Like, so you mentioned the Patriots dynasty before, and now like you look at this one, like, at least like the Patriots had like an off year here and there. They let Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger slip through, and even Joe Flacco once. These guys just aren't letting anybody through except for like the one time when Burrow slid through there. Like,
yeah,
it's absolutely ridiculous.
What if Nick Saban gets a call?
I don't know. I think he's still bitter about that Drew Brees thing we talked about earlier. He's not going back.
I would say that at this point, the Saints are a better run franchise than the Dolphins.
I know that's true, but I think he's just still so bitter about it.
I would agree.
I think he actually despises the league because of that happening. Anyways,
well, despite our yours, we can move on to our wheel, Justin.
Oh no, we got some fun college football scheduling news to go over first.
I forgot that.
So the ACC schedule was announced this week, which obviously, everyone already knew the teams that were playing and stuff, but this is kind of more of, who is playing who when. There wasn't a whole lot to take away except for I guess we are making this Cal SMU game during rivalry week thing now. Okay. And it also really brought to the attention just like how difficult some of these schedules are going to be next year for some of these teams. So the Miami Hurricanes, they play a lot of tough teams, but I really want to pinpoint one that I think has been mentioned a lot throughout our circle. Syracuse. They're coming off a 10-win season, but their schedule is absolutely absurd next year. They play on their schedule, they play 1/3 of the 2024 playoff field. So they play Tennessee, they play Notre Dame, they play Clemson, and they play SMU. They also play the Miami Hurricanes, who almost made the playoff if it wasn't for a loss to Syracuse. They play two teams that won 9 games last year. And then, let's see, that gets us up to 7 of the 11 games against FBS opponents. So then getting up to 10, you have 3 more teams that finish with winning records. That gets you to 10 of their 11 FBS opponents. Number 11 is coached by Bill Belichick. This is an absolute grind of a schedule. Syracuse could improve over being a 10-win team last year and struggle for bowl eligibility because of how hard the schedule is.
You brought up Notre Dame in there, and I forgot to mention Chris Ash got hired as the Notre Dame defensive coordinator, and I don't think I've realistically heard of him since, I guess Rutgers, but that's a place to die. I guess 2014's Ohio State defense. That's the last time I heard of this guy.
Yeah, where did he even come from?
He was scout for the Jaguars, I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, he went to the NFL for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm not terribly worried because, Marcus Freeman was a really good defensive coordinator. So I think worst case scenario, he just takes over play calling for the defense. He's going to whip him into shape anyway. So
yeah, I would trust Marcus on this one. He knows what he's doing. So yeah, I think it'll end up working out pretty good. It was a little surprising, but Chris Ash got to learn a little bit in the NFL, so I think that's going to help out a little bit.
Plus, being a scout, you become a better talent evaluator, so that helps too.
And then also Mike Mickens, who's been a big part of that program, is also going to be co-defensive coordinator, so he's going to have his thoughts in there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on to other scheduling topics. So with that Notre Dame Miami game being announced on Sunday, it quickly became apparent to both us and other people in our corners of Twitter that the Orange Blossom Classic is in danger here because this game is usually played on that opening Sunday. So it's the opening Sunday in the afternoon, ABC, like perfect, like standalone game. That's a great exposure opportunity for HBCUs. But obviously it's played at Miami Stadium. And if Miami's hosting Notre Dame that night, they're not going to be able to play a football game and then another football game on the same day. So, it obviously got worried there for a moment, is this game even going to happen? Because they're already worried about the future of the game because it normally has been, traditionally it's been mostly a Florida A&M versus another HBCU showcase, but then Florida A&M pulled out of the game last year. However, shortly after Miami Notre Dame got announced, the next day, another big announcement came in. Florida A&M is back in the Orange Blossom Classic. So, they'll get to play there again. They're going to play Howard. That'll be a pretty cool matchup between two really good HBCU brands. The only downside is, it's going to be on Saturday. So it's going to be among the opening college football slate, not on its standalone time because of the timing of the, Miami Notre Dame game. So
I don't know why Pitbull just isn't like, hey, we're not terribly far. Come see us or come to my stadium.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the thing is, like Florida A&M fans took this game seriously. Like the big part of the draw was the fact that Florida A&M would, they would have a lot of people in the stands for this, even though it is on a hot August afternoon. So,
in
like,
southern Florida.
Yes, in southern Florida, the hottest and humidest place. That's not even a word, but
Most human.
most human place. But yeah, so it's huge that they got to continue this game. Whatever agreement they came to really worked because Florida A&M was scheduled to play South Alabama for a payday game. So whatever payday they're getting from this was better than what South Alabama offered, or they're going to move the game. We'll see what happens there. But I'm glad they got to continue this game, even though it's not going to have its standalone time. The other big HBCU announcement was, one that really stuck out to me. Grambling and Jackson State are going to play on October 25th at Allegiant Stadium.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty cool game. They're going to get to play in the big environment. HBCU alums that are out there are going to get to go to this game. And, they're also getting their chance to reach a different market. They're, our friend, I think, oh man, I'm trying to remember the source's name. Hang on, let me look at Twitter real quick.
But basically, it's a good showcase to show HBCUs out west. To say,
Yeah,
hey,
I mean,
come here, play with us.
Yeah, and they're going to get decent payday out of this. HBCU GameDay.com reported that each team is going to receive $350,000 for this game. So, it's a pretty cool opportunity for both programs.
Can you imagine if like someone jumped in and upped the ante and gave them each $1 million?
Dude, that would be incredible.
Yeah,
I would really love to see that for both programs.
What if we had like a weekend where like HBCUs have like their own like tournament and it's played at Allegiant Stadium and they have like a 3-day period where it's just game ends, new game begins, game ends, new games begins, and just do that. That'd be dope.
That'd be a lot of fun.
It's in Vegas, so you can just go all night.
Yeah. Yeah, Thursday through Saturday.
No, like all night. Weekend. Like just
you're talking about the games.
Yeah. 4:00 in the morning, we have like randomly Florida A&M versus Alabama State.
Swack before dawn. Yeah, because like we even mentioned, I know we were talking about it, like it's like maybe put this game at like a 10 o'clock kickoff. 10 o'clock Eastern. Obviously be 8 o'clock over there. I was like swack after dark.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Is it time for the wheel yet? I'm getting excited.
All right, it's time for the wheel. So let's go ahead and pull this bad boy up. Our list of questions on the wheel are going to continue to evolve as we go. So, in rehearsal, this worked, but it turns out when we do a live show is when it does not work. So we will not be able to pull up the wheel, but
do you have a website? Just send it to me. I'll do it. Justin's the only one that has these kind of problems. Like, we did this on Zoom and Justin couldn't get anything to work ever.
Matt, we have to read the best Google reviews of a stadium.
Justin, I told you to send it to me so I can share it so people can.
I know, but then you have to put the questions in and all that kind of stuff. Plus, there's like 100-something teams to put in the second wheel.
Okay.
All right, so we're about to read the Google reviews of a stadium, and Kansas.
And I gotta type it in. We did not. This is us just now figuring it out.
All right, let's see here. David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium. So this stadium was under construction this year. They actually play their games at Arrowhead. So I'm really hoping that we get some interesting stuff for this one.
It's temporarily closed. And then, of course, we have to go by the lowest. We have, if you could give this place a 0, I would. I got excited for my first game as a freshman tonight, but wasn't let in because of my purse. First off, there's no signs about purse size on the ticket booth or anywhere in the parking lot. Then the ticket person said that after I tried to get a refund, that was final sale. He claimed there was a sign saying final sale, but there are none. At the booth, they would tell you the bag size. They would let, this is really terribly worded, and should tell you the sale is final. I wasted money and time on a game that I didn't even get to see. This is supposed to be a good memory, but now I hope Kansas has a losing season.
Stadium is okay. Parking expensive and uphill, but my tickets in the visitor section were actually behind the goal line, like on the 40-year line. What the heck? Totally lame. Not a way to treat a visitor. At least we won.
This dump could be the 7th best high school football stadium in the state if they would just drop down their competition level.
Pretty ugly stadium. It doesn't hold a lot of fans. Tailgating was almost non-existent, and fans didn't seem to care that their team was getting the shit knocked out of them. Also, Lawrence is a pretty bland town. Seems like a place where people who have given up on their dreams live. The Jayhawks fans are pretty nice, but very awkward. And the frat guys there were putting ice in their beer. If you could only make the trip to a road game once or twice a season, I'd recommend passing on here and going somewhere nicer.
This one says no atmosphere, bad traditions, colors are ugly, and can't win football games like the university to the west can year in and year out. Man, they're just ripping the stadium. But 623 reviews and it's a 4.3 rating.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously only reading the bad ones because this is entertaining. Yes, it's a nice facility and a drop dead gorgeous setting, but in terms of infrastructure, it's way behind the times in comparison to the rest of the conference. Likely to stay that way for a long time. This is from 2015, by the way. There is something about the University of Kansas that can't get its act together around the sport of football. Look for a mostly empty stadium this year. It's a team that could go 0-12. Look up their 2015 record. Let's see if they went 0-12. Not saying that to just be mean. I have season tickets. In the words of former head coach Mark Mangino, any school can have a bad century of football. That pretty much sums this place up. Hoping the program can move forward so the rest of the school and boosters can get behind them. Right now, it's about the most difficult school in the NCAA to want to love the stadium and the team.
That was the second time in school history they went winless.
Let's go with 12.
Oh man, that's funny.
Oh, that's so great.
With those funny reviews, I think it's time to end.
I think. Do we want to do another one?
If you found a funny one.
Hang on. No, I'm talking about another stadium.
Oh no, we're running out of time.
Okay.
So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and feel free to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter or X, whatever it is now. Instagram, TikTok. Thank God that's back, even though we don't post there. Facebook, Threads, all of that. Go ahead and follow us on all of that. Get updates on X. That's where we are the most active. Like, subscribe, show us some love. We sometimes respond back. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.